So the first thing we're going to be looking at is the new Jelly Bean 4.1 for Android, which is essentially just a bit of a tweaked version of ICS. It's not a major overhaul like it was from version 3 to version 4, because ICS was a pretty big release. This is just a minor update, a few visual changes and a few mostly background changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at something like the Nexus website, which we have here. Now the Nexus website, of course, is where you can see everything from the phone to the tablet and to the player, which we'll get to later. But we're going to look at the phone first. Now the phone itself, in terms of the hardware, has not changed whatsoever. What's changed mostly has been the operating system Jelly Bean. Now I'm actually going to use, because I haven't got the phone, I haven't got a Nexus phone, I've got a Galaxy S2 which I'm actually recording this on now. I'm going to have to use some other images, and I'm going to do courtesy of The Verge. So thank you very much, The Verge, one of my favourite websites for tech news and reporting. The Verge has got some great hands-on videos and photos, which I'm going to have a look at now. So of course, here we can see just some handheld images of what see ICS. I keep on saying it because it looks so the same. What Jelly Bean looks like, and again, it looks very, very similar. You can see the main overall interfaces hasn't changed very much whatsoever. What we're really looking at though are some of the under the hood changes. So something called Project Butter, which Google is announcing, which is essentially just an optimization of Android that makes everything run smoother. Apps will have nice smooth transitions. It's up to 60 frames a second in terms of the frame rate that things transition and things like that, and just an overall smoothness to the operating system. What we're looking at here, however, is the new Google Now feature, which is quite hard to get your head around, I guess, but I'll try and explain it the best I can. Essentially, Google Now uses all of the information that you have on Google, all your search history, all of your calendar events, your place information, your your Google Plus information. It kind of pulls it all together and gives you this kind of almost tailored, almost like a home page. And I think a lot of people have actually thought, okay, maybe this Google Now could actually slightly become your home page in the future, say on your Google Chrome web page. So essentially, as we can see here, it'll pull up things like the weather, and it actually has a very nice, in the top corner, a very nice way of doing some voice dictation, and the voice dictation by many people has been reported to be very, very good, rivaling Siri in terms of its accuracy and natural language dictation. But it can do a lot of things, like, okay, the good example is places. It will detect over a certain amount of time, and it does take a while to get used to what you're doing, but it will say, okay, I know you work here, I know you leave this time for work, and I know what route you take to work, so I'm going to say in the Google Now page, okay, you're going to leave to work in a second, but there's a traffic jam on your usual route, so how about I route you around this way? Or, okay, I can see in your calendar you've got a flight booked at this time, but that flight's delayed, so I'm going to tell you about it. Now, Matthias Duarte from Google has actually said that some of these things won't automatically come up and notify you, and say, okay, so if you've got a flight and it's delayed, Google Now won't automatically come up with a notification and say your flight's delayed. You'll still have to go and check it, but it will automatically amend it for you. Of course, we've got some improvement to maps as well, which is very nice always. And then we've got a big change here, which is Notification Center. Now, Notification Center essentially is different now because it looks really, really great. I think the visual aesthetics are great, almost like a little bit Windows Phone with the squares in the corner on the left-hand column. And you can see here that we've got some collapsible notifications. So when the one at the top goes up to the top, it will automatically expand. But you can do a two-finger swipe and expand those gestures, and expand that notification out. If it's like a photo, for example, someone's posted, you can expand it out with 2 fingers. And I don't know how much a 2-finger gesture will work on a small phone. For the 7-inch tablet, which we'll get into, I think will be a lot better. But on the phone, I don't know how much you're going to use that, especially the 2-finger gesture. So we've got some more Google Now stuff here. You can see the cards that it brings up automatically. They're called cards. Very reminiscent of WebOS, which of course is where some members, I believe it was Matthias Duarte, came from the WebOS team, which is, I guess he's brought over a lot of influence from there. So Google Now, I think, is a really, really good feature that a lot of people are going to use for, even if it's just voice dictation or some navigations, but it does seem to be a really good, and visually as well, I think it's gorgeous as well. It kind of shows where Google is going aesthetically with their products. And also there's some improvements to, for example, the camera. You can now open the camera app on your Nexus, take a photo. There's a nice little animation of it kind of swooping off to the side, which kind of gives you a little bit of a hint of what you can do. You can essentially just kind of pinch outwards on the viewfinder, as you can see they're doing here, and it will bring you to the film strip where you can flip through your photos. You can flip up to delete one, and then you can undo it if you don't want to delete it. And then when you actually go back to the start of the slideshow, you actually still have a live preview next to a still photo of what your camera's seeing versus the last photo you took. So I think really nice. And again, this is to do with Project Butter to make everything go really, really smoothly. So I think in total, Jelly Bean 4.1 is a really, really good update. Even if it's just visually changed, there's nothing much in the way of massive differences. It's a bit visually different, mostly under the hood with this Project Butter, but I think it's a very welcome change. But again, we've got this whole Android issue where I've got a Galaxy S2, probably one of the best Android phones at the moment, before the Galaxy S3 came out and the Nexus XS. It was one of the best Android phones, and I don't know when I'm going to get 4.1 Jelly Bean. I've pretty much said to myself now, I've sworn an oath to myself to say my next Android product is going to be a Nexus product, because I want to have stock Android. I don't want to have skins. I don't want to have any messing about with carriers and when they're going to release updates. I just don't want to mess about with it anymore. I'm going to get the Nexus tablet probably when I can afford it, because I love that I can have a 7-inch carry-around reader that runs stock Android. And I want to have a stock Android phone because I think they look aesthetically gorgeous compared to some of the skins that are out there, which is why on my Galaxy S2 I skinned it to make it look as much as I can stock Android, because that's what I like. So my next products are going to be the Nexus products, and if I had to recommend to anybody that's thinking about Android, I would without hesitation say get a stock Android device. So this is going to be the wrap up of Jelly Bean. Now I'm going to move on and have a look at the Nexus 7 tablet.